I just felt like I completely lost myself. I was showing up to lecture every day in a perfect little outfit with my hair and makeup done, and I was always on time, and I was miserable, and I was so lonely, and nobody knew that because I perfected the way I looked to everybody else. My classes are not meant to make you look like me or make you look like some perfect dancer. I want you to leave feeling more energized, cardiovascular health is improved, your strength and mobility, just your general kind of energy has improved because of having a great workout class experience.
So, Emma Beaumont. Hi, bonjour. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
So, welcome to Equa.
Thank you.
So, I think that maybe we can first start by introducing you. So, basically, in a few words, Emma is a wellness coach of Kalon Barre Movement in Paris. She's going to explain that to all of us a bit later. She has a very international background. Toronto, right?
Yes, Toronto, Canada, yeah.
Great, Toronto, not Paris. She just told me that she is going to do an internship at Tiffany's. She's also an engineer. She's a student. And fun fact, she has a 5-star review on ClassPass, I saw.
I do.
Okay,
so I make a habit to not read my ClassPass reviews because people can be a little bit mean on ClassPass sometimes, and I like to, keep the positive self-talk going, especially with something like fitness instructing. You can be really critical of yourself in those kinds of environments. So I never read my ClassPass reviews. I figure if there's something that somebody needs to tell me about my classes, my boss, the studio manager, will tell me. So that's really nice to know.
Oh, I think you're the first coach ever who has a 5-star review first.
Oh my goodness.
And does not look at her comment, but that's a good practice, even mentally, So you're not getting into this online stuff and you just focus on your work and on positivity. That's, that's a great stuff. So what made you jump, not jump, but what made you jump in this Kalon movement practice? What is it first?
So I can let you know a little bit. So Kalon is, it's funny, you say Kalon, when the French people say Kalon, it's actually a studio that is run and operated by two women from the UK. And so we say Kalon when a very North American / European, not European accent. And so sometimes when I meet French people and I say oh, have you heard of Kalon Barre? They go, no. And I say, how about Kalon? And then, all of a sudden, they know what I'm talking about. That's something I have learned in my 6-7 months since I've been in France, is that sometimes we can be speaking the same words, but not speaking the same language because of pronunciation and things lost in translation. But anyways, Kalon Barre is a style that was developed by two ex-dancers of the cabaret world here in Paris. And I am, for context, not a cabaret dancer. I come from a lifelong love of music and dance and gymnastics. My biggest love is actually musical theater. So I was really, really heavily involved in musicals, competitive choir.
I didn't know that. So
yeah, I'm a big musical theater nerd. I was actually, my starring role was Elle Woods in my high school production of Legally Blonde, the musical.
Oh,
yeah,
amazing.
and so that's kind of for me, singing and dancing and acting. When I was a little girl, I thought I was going to be on Broadway. That was my big dream, was to be a performer, to be a star, to be Hannah Montana. I wanted to be on a stage performing. I love performing. I love singing. I love dancing. Years go by. I stayed very involved in that whole community. And then I decided to pursue engineering as my undergraduate degree, which is a little bit of a departure. And I didn't really have that kind of outlet anymore. Mm-hmm. I've always been very involved in group fitness as well. I think it kind of goes hand in hand with my love of choir. Honestly, I love group activities, things where we're kind of working towards a collective goal. And so yoga, Pilates, barre have been a part of my life since I was literally 7 years old. And my mom signed me up for yoga for kids. And then who would have thought
something like that existed back then?
In 2007, I was born in 2007 in the suburbs of Canada. All of the mommies were starting to do yoga. It was very trendy at the time. And so she put me in a kids specialty class, and I was always a gymnast and a dancer and all of that. So I just loved all of the bendiness and the inversions and stuff like that. And also then later on when I was in high school, got really into Pilates and barre. And yeah, I've always loved like group fitness and moving in a way that's like fun and feels like you're just kind of dancing and you feel just really like good and confident and like kind of beautiful. And that's kind of the whole ethos behind Kalon is like moving in these kind of, you know, ways that are inspired by cabaret dance lightly and ballet and dance lightly. It's a workout class first and foremost. You're going to get a burn. It is a challenge, but we incorporate in this sort of like style and energy that makes you kind of feel like you're dancing. And so even when you're sweating your ass off, you still feel like kind of beautiful, really beautiful, honestly, and like good about yourself. And you get to look around and there's this group of women all like moving with you. And like that for me has always been why I've been drawn to group fitness is this sense of like community and especially like, you know, female centric community as well. I've always been really, really integrated in like female communities from like choir to theater to like a lot of the workplaces that I've been in. Even I went to an all-girls school when I briefly lived in Australia.
How was it? What is it?
An all-girls school?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I loved it.
You loved it?
Yeah, because it made me not afraid to be really ambitious and really academic, which I always have been. I'm an engineer.
Yes.
I'm a little bit of a nerd, self-proclaimed. I love Excel. I love data. I like to code, you know, like that's kind of my bread and butter is like data analysis. I did not discover that until I was almost 18 years old, that like that was my thing. And that is a huge thank you to Melbourne Girls Grammar and my high school education of like this all girls environment where we were just like not afraid to be really ambitious, really academic, really driven young girls. And I actually went to Paris for the first time with them, with my school. Yeah. And that's kind of, it was a science entrepreneurial type trip. And I came here to Paris among some other European cities. We went to the Space Center in Belgium, actually.
Nice.
I thought that was so cool. And I think I was 16 at the time. And we went to an atelier here in Paris. We went to Jean-Paul Gaultier. We went to the Volkswagen factory in Germany. And all of a sudden I was like, this is science. This is STEM. Like art, fashion, culture are all like industries that require like science and data analysis.
Yes.
And so like, yeah, my high school experience really opened my eyes there. And so that's why all of a sudden I went from thinking like, I'm going to be a performer to, okay, I guess I'm going to start dropping, you know, more creative courses in my last year of high school so that I can do physics and chemistry and calculus in order to like beef up my resume to apply for like, you know, some of the top engineering programs in the country. And so like, yeah, that kind of like all of a sudden made a shift in me. And like the past, 5 years, I guess, is when I started my undergrad. I just graduated this past year. And it's been a journey of trying to find out how do I make this fusion of like science, data, tech, like where I see like the future of my career and like the future of the world. And also for like, you know, me as like a young woman wanting to like kind of feel really confident in my like academic and like hard skills, like abilities in that space. Well, also being a super duper creative person, being a super active person, like how do I merge this kind of like mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, like how do I get all of that in my life, you know? Like I want to be greedy with my life. I want so much from it. And so moving to Paris for my MBA, I tried a bunch of studios when I first moved here, like crazy, because I was like, I need to find out where I want to teach. I started teaching earlier
So let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah,
so you moved from Toronto to Paris. So what happened?
What
like
happened?
From where?
A breakup.
Like,
No, I'm kidding. Well, I mean, a little bit.
Sometimes it does happen. But
I was on the path to graduation. So this was like the winter of 2023. And I was going to be graduating in the summer. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. So to roll back a little bit more, as part of your kind of engineering undergraduate degree in Canada, you need to complete what we call a PEY co-op, which is our kind of like work experience practice hours that we need to have.
Alternance.
Exactly. Yeah.
In
So
France.
it needs to be 12 to 16 months. And during the pandemic, or on the tail end of the pandemic in Canada, when I started engineering, I hated it. For context, I was getting really, really good grades, but my mental and physical health was really, really poor. I had lost my joy for learning, my joy for life. I was in a really, really dark place. And in a weird way, the pandemic came at a really good time for me emotionally and like physically, in that it allowed me to like take a big step back and look at like, where am I? And like what has happened in the past, like 12 months since I've moved to Canada. I just felt like I completely lost myself.
You think that you completely lost yourself because you didn't make a hard decision for your studies, or was it a hard?
It was
hearty,
a really
like was it?
Yeah, no, sorry. Go ahead and finish your question.
I just want to know, were you pressured, for example, by your parents or by your environment not to pursue a career in wellness or like a Broadway show? Or was it really like you and yourself were like, okay, no, I have interested in science. I know that I'm strong and that I have good grades, but beyond that, I have a genuine interest? Or was it just something that you were like, okay, I'm going to do it because I have good grades and that will allow me to practice, other stuff?
Like a little bit of a fusion. I did have some like kind of family, like, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but like, yeah, like there was some like kind of expectation that like, if you're good at this, then you should do this. Also a little bit of like kind of language of, it's a little bit complicated. I think in today's modern society, being a woman in STEM, it's like, oh my God, so amazing. There's so many opportunities for you. And then there's a little bit of this narrative that like, if you're a woman in STEM, you're a minority, and like gender quotas, just kind of perceptions of companies, you're going to get jobs easier because you're a woman in STEM and because we want more of you. And so from my dad specifically, that was a bit of a push from him, was like, if you do this, like, you're so employable because you're a girl in this field that wants girls right now. And he's like, I wish I was a girl in like, industry. And I wanted to do like more maybe like design or creative architecture. And then when I got also into, so University of Toronto has the top engineering program in Canada. When I got in, it was just, I'm such an ambitious person. And so when you get into something like that,
I'm like, there's no way, right?
I have to. Yeah. And so it was a mixture of like, yes, family pressure, society pressure, school pressure, and also my own pressure of being a really high achiever who just like wanted to like, like prove that like I can do this. And also it felt like a much more practical decision than, love the arts so much, not an industry of a lot of stability or a lot of like, not a lot of career stability, not a lot of like financial stability. And so it's like, I made that decision for really, really practical reasons. And I made that decision at 17 years old. And, like I also like all of a sudden was like living by myself for the first time on campus. And I was like living by myself in my dorm too, really, really like isolated. I did not feel like I fit in with the engineering community because I am a super like very stereotypically feminine girl who loves pink and dressing up. And now lovingly, my friends refer to me as the Elle Woods of engineering because I would show up to school with my, little pink blazer and my little purse. And I love to handwrite my notes. You might as well have given me a fluffy pen like Elle Woods had. Like I embodied that kind of like, girly girl kind of vibe, which means that people underestimate you for sure.
Yes.
And so now it's kind of like, I love having that sort of like, yeah, I am a woman in STEM and I'm also a fitness instructor and a dancer and I'm a fashion student and all of those like, different roles. Like I I don't have to feel limited by one label. But when I was 18 and I started university, and all of a sudden I'm surrounded by all of these students who were like the, the ducks, or like the kind of, I don't know what the French term would be, but like they were the nerd of their school.
Yeah,
they were like
the top in the engineering stuff. And
they've been coding since they were like in elementary school, and I was not. I was the musical theater girl. I was like the class president, and I was like, I was super involved in school like community, but I was not the nerd, and I was not the science kid. I was not the girl you went to for help on your homework.
I understand you so much, because you know what? I'm on this point. I have a lot of friends, and so it didn't happen to me luckily, but I have a lot of friends who have started learning, whether it's in Belgium or in France or even in the UK or in the States, and they were doing their bachelor or their master's. They were arriving in a specific scientific field, but also in a more literature field, like it could be law or anything else, or calculus or whatever. And they were like, yeah, you feel like you have not to change, but if you don't fit with the majority of the people, if you don't dress or if you don't have the same mindset, well, you kind of like feel very left out and isolated, as you're saying. So what would you say to your younger self today?
Oh my gosh.
Advice for,
don't let the nerdy smart boys take credit for your work, because they would do that.
They would do that.
Oh gosh. I think I wish that I would have embraced the community that I was in more, rather than focusing on all of the ways that I didn't feel like I like fit the mold or was a part of it.
Yeah.
I struggled a lot with being really, really like self-critical, and also I am, like we've addressed, a very ambitious perfectionist person. And so like needing to perfect the way others see me, and the way that I like looked, and the way that I like dressed, and just sat and presented myself. And later in my undergraduate degree, I opened myself up a lot more to the community of engineering at U of T, which is a phenomenal community, because we're all working our asses off like constantly. Like when I look at my lecture schedule from first year, it like makes me stress, because we just literally were just like in lecture constantly, and then they were like, oh, and now go home and do a whole bunch of problem sets and homework, and you have like, there's just no time for anything except for school. And because of that, the community of support around each other, if you choose to embrace it, is so strong. And I think that like sometimes we can get really caught up in like, this is maybe like this community maybe looks different to how like I might have seen myself. Like I said, I saw myself as this archetype of like, this perfect little Emma that I thought everybody wanted. A little, very princess blonde, dainty little girl who's gonna like sing and dance and do nice little girl things.
Yes.
And so like all of the kind of engineering grungy culture of like, staying up with your friends and going out for a beer after class and working on problem sets together at the pub. Like I didn't like embrace myself into that, and I isolated myself a lot for my like first year of university, because I didn't feel like I was aligned with that crew. And then I allowed myself to embrace it coming out of the pandemic a lot more, actually. And so like I think like don't take yourselves too seriously. And community is community, and community is so wonderful regardless of like what it looks like. And like living a life that's like kind of picture perfect is so overrated. And I was showing up to lecture every day in a perfect little outfit with my hair and makeup done, and I was always on time, and I was miserable, and I was so lonely, and nobody knew that, because I like perfected the way I looked to everybody else. So like literally like being raw, being messy, like Lola Young says, like, like that makes people like you more. And even to this day, that is something that like, that's not just for younger Emma. That's something I need to remind myself to this day. Like I'm working at a studio and I'm feeling overworked because I've been teaching a lot of classes. And so I'm exhausted. Like I actually had this happen recently at Kalon, where I like literally hit a wall. I was teaching so much at a couple studios here in France, and I just literally exhausted myself to the point where like I got sick. Like I was like like having a fever, and I was like, my voice was gone, and I felt like so miserable about it because I hate asking for help and I hate asking for subs. And approaching one of my studio managers about it, she was like, if anything, she's like, oh, you're a real person. You're not a superwoman. It's
can
humbling.
be sick. It's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's nice to remember that like people like you more sometimes when you're like humanized, you know?
Of course.
And
yes.
also I wish I would have told my younger self, like, look after your body. You only have one. Something I struggled with a lot in my first year was an eating disorder. And I was so like, just that was kind of my way of controlling this like lack of control in my family, in my school, in the world around me, was really just like obsessing over everything that was going in. And every single day that also isolated me so much more. And so like there was a lot of reasons why like the start of my university and the start of engineering was super duper challenging for me. And that was a big part of it. And it's also a big part of why like today as a fitness instructor, I navigate the way that I like talk about like what these exercises are going to do for you. I navigate like how I treat myself, how I feel myself, like really cautiously. And it's something that I check in with myself for like every single day.
And that's really the most important. And so let's go back to Paris for a second.
Yeah, sorry, we never even got to Paris. we still haven't talked about engineering. Oh my God, yes, my co-op, oh my God. So I fell in love with engineering like for the first time because I started interning at a fashion house in Canada as their like in-house engineer, the first of my kind, because it was a very small boutique fashion house. I worked for them as a stylist, just as like a part-time gig.
Another hat is coming in.
Another hat.
She's
We
everything.
were like stylist. I was a sales girl. That was just the fancy term for it. But as my like need to have an like 16 hours of or 16, yes, what was it? 16 months of work experience.
Of work, yes.
I was like, hey, I think that you need an industrial engineer on your team. I could be your like data analyst doing database management and like maybe a little bit of web work, sales and marketing analysis, trend forecasting. These are all things that I learn in school in a very like concrete sense about other industries. Why can they not be aligned to fashion? And I love fashion. And I always have. I've always loved Paris. Like it's kind of like what has drawn me to this city is like it's just beautiful. And they like Parisian lifestyle and architecture and like everything has this just glow for it to me. And so that's where I did my co-op. And so I like fell back in love with engineering because of how I was able to now all of a sudden see that like all of these like skills that I had for data and tech and analysis, like that could be used to support creative people in making their like creative projects flourish. Because as much as like, you know, wouldn't it be lovely if like a designer could just like design whatever they wanted and they could be so profitable just by like the labor of love? You need somebody like me behind the scenes to be like, okay, but how about some strategic decisions that we can make in order to like better align that, you know?
How about we see if that's actually
exactly. And so then when I finished my co-op, I had my last year of university, went through a breakup, and then was like, I need to make a change. And so I found the perfect program here in Paris at IFA, which is a MBA program, but it's specialized in luxury fashion business management. And so I'm almost done my first year. Then my second year will be my thesis and my internship. And then I hope to pursue a career in like fashion data analysis and like business operations specific to like the beautiful things that I want to support.
That's amazing. That's so interesting. And it leads me to my next question. How does a week in Emma's life looks like? How do you do to juggle between teaching and your courses and everything? Because I saw you on Instagram first, and I was so shocked to see that you're teaching in so many different places. She's everywhere.
So, as I mentioned, I did have a little bit of not a huge burnout, but like a little bit. And so now I'm actually just teaching mostly at Kalon. I do the occasional pop-up, a place at Aria in the 17th right now, just like kind of here and there. Sorry, I keep hitting my mic. The musical theater comes out because I do a lot of this. In my class, something I like to say a lot is jazz hands when we talk about
hands.
Yeah, exactly. Because at Kalon, we like to hold our weights like this so that it makes it harder.
What does it do? What does it do, those jazz hands? So instead of like gripping
your weights, like, death gripping, one kind of makes you stressed when you're like, gripping your weights like this. Also, we use like really, really light weights, like half a kilo. And so, which sounds like, what kind of workout are you doing with half a kilo weights? But when your arms are up here like this,
it burns
forever and ever. Like barre is all about teeny tiny repetitive motions. And so if you don't use your fingers, just your thumbs, it makes it way harder. So anyways, I'm very expressive.
So
some jazz hands.
There you go. A question about this method. Is it, you think, more designed like, okay, for women because it's coming from cabaret and stuff, but today do you teach also to men? Or not really?
Not so much at Kalon. Occasionally.
Yeah.
For sure. I've seen it happen. And even barre in general. Like I started teaching barre actually during my engineering undergrad back in Canada, which was like the needed injection of like dance into my life that I was missing and performance. So I've actually been teaching barre for I think about 3 years now. And for me, I've never seen a lot of men in the barre room. Like full transparency. It is like barre is inspired by dance. Also some elements of yoga and Pilates. Like it's not a dance class. I always like to say not a dance class. You don't need to be a dancer, but it definitely does have a more feminine energy in a lot of the moves that we do. Even just being in a space that has like mirrors and like a ballet bar, it's not something that most men that I know put themselves into. That being said, I think almost all of my guy friends from my engineering undergrad came to my class when I was doing my training.
Oh, that's so cute. And did they like it?
They were humbled.
They respected me.
They respected me a hell of a lot after it. I had my friend who is a marathon runner, and I don't know if I believe him, but direct quote from him after he came to my barre class, he was like, that was harder than running a marathon, which grain of salt. I don't know about that because I've never run a marathon. I'm not a runner, but yeah, barre is hard. So no, not a lot of men in the barre room. That being said, I also teach Pilates. That is getting increasingly a little more male.
Yes, that's why I'm seeing so much men now in reformer classes,
especially
Pilates
reformer,
class.
the mega former.
Yes.
I mean, everybody's doing it right now.
Yeah,
everybody's doing reformer. My boyfriend and I actually met because he was coming to my Pilates classes in Canada, and he maybe developed a little bit of a crush. And so anyways, there are men in Pilates for sure. Barre, we're still working on it. So like guys out there,
it's gonna come.
It's a hard workout, and I think that like guys do like to be challenged in like there's like it's a sweaty burn for sure, and so. Don't be shy.
No,
come on
don't
down.
be. So you have been teaching for a few years now. You have in many different professions. So coaching, barre, dancing, jazz, Kalon. What is the biggest misconception that people, or the biggest mistake that people who wants, to have a really healthy routine regarding sports, what is the biggest mistake for you that you have been watching?
Oh, I think recently something that like, I've actually, I see it in North America for sure, but I've definitely seen it so much since moving here is this idea that like, if you do this certain workout, then you will look this certain way. And even that like certain parts of your body can be changed by doing like right now, like you mentioned, we're seeing a lot of reformer Pilates. And I hate to say it, but there's this kind of stereotypical like Pilates body that everybody sees on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest. And there's this idea that like, oh, if I do this, workout that this girl that I want to look like or this person that I want to look like is doing, then I will look like that. And like, that's another thing I wish I could tell my younger self, which is like we all sit in different places. We all have like body fat and like creases and lines and rolls in different places. You can work out like a fiend and never look like that other person in one way, and they'll never look like you in another way.
Stop comparing yourself, guys.
And
it's
also,
the worst.
Yeah, it is, because like I said, you can do the exact same workout as the girl next to you. You guys can go to the same class every single day, and your bodies are gonna look different. And as women too, there are parts of our bodies that are always going to, like, one, we're always changing. Oh my God, like women, hormonal health, and just literally age and time, our bodies are going to change a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like you can feel really great about how your body looks at age 24. That's great, amazing, awesome. Don't get used to it because it's going to keep changing. And so when it comes to like, you know, the kind of workout, group fitness, real like kind of blow up in that we're seeing right now, it's become so popular to like go to your Pilates class, go to your bar class, yoga, reformer. Do it because of how you want to feel, not because of like how you want to look, which is so much easier said than done. Oh my God, I know. But it's, again, something that I want to remind myself of constantly, something I want to remind my clients of constantly, is that like I will never, ever promise to make your body look a certain type of way. My classes are not meant to like make you look like me or make you look like some perfect dancer. I want to make you feel a certain type of way. I want you to leave feeling like more energized. I want you to feel like your cardiovascular health is improved, like your strength and endurance and mobility and just your general kind of like energy has improved because of like having a great workout class experience. Even if you can't do every move perfectly, you got your heart rate up, you moved your body, you listened to my bad jokes and my good music.
And that's already great.
You had a good time, you know? And like, obviously, yes, we work out for like health and longevity and all of those reasons. And also, yes, aesthetic purposes for sure. And so like, you know, I'm not here saying like you can't change the way your body looks. Of course you can, you know? Like there is literally like so many ways you can change how your body looks, you know? But that should never be like the goal of a workout, you know? And again, I know it's easier said than done, but like, especially with group fitness, it's not personal training. It's a group experience. And so like, you're not getting a workout that's specifically customized just to you and just to your needs. We're getting something that's for the whole class, you know? And that's kind of a different related thing. I think that sometimes people who are getting into group fitness now, because it's a little trendy, maybe don't always know that there's like some like etiquette around you're moving with other people. And as somebody who grew up doing like dance, choir, and theater, group activity is something that like, and like etiquette around that, this idea that like, this is not just for you. This is an experience for everybody. If you show up late, leave early, if you're talking during class, if you're laughing with your friend, if you're making fun of an exercise or whatever, like that's affecting everybody else's experience.
Yes, of course, that's affecting everybody else's aura and way of practicing. Honestly, I hate it when I'm in like Lights Reformer class or just a collective class and people are like, even just on their phone, it's disturbing me. I'm like, no, I don't want to see your phone at you. Like, it's our time.
Because it is something I have seen so much here. I literally taught a class the other day and a woman got a phone call during class. And
I can't.
She picked it up. And we're in our cardio bar sequence. No. She picks up her phone. She leans against the bar and she's like, what? Bonjour. What? And she has a full, like, I'm not kidding, like 5-minute phone call conversation. And I'm there like, class is going. And if you've been to a bar class or any sort of group fitness class, but especially in Kalon, like it is like a performance. We are going the whole time. There's minimal breaks. So I'm talking pretty much constantly. And so by being on your phone there, like she's like talking over me. And so the Libra people pleaser in me was there like, oh, should I turn down the music? Like maybe we should take a pause. And I was like, no, this is our group fitness. Why are you taking a phone call right now? Like what? And it was not like, oh, I've got a family emergency. I'll be right outside. No. It's just like, oh, like, you know, hey Marie, like, hey Marie. Yeah, like I was like, what?
You talked about you're finding jokes, the fact that this Marie or I don't know who got in the middle of your class and all of this. So have you already yourself totally messed up a class?
Yeah, oh my God. You make mistakes all the time. I mean, like, it's like live theater, you know?
Yeah,
like, it's like the same kind of like the show must go on. Like especially now I'm here, like, teaching in franglais at Kalon. You expect that from a lot of the instructors there because we use like, and this is bar in general. It's inspired by like ballet and stuff. But I did all of my bar Pilates training in Canada in English. My French is not fantastic. I'm working on it, but I cannot teach a full class in French. And so there's simple stuff like even in English, I can't get my right from my left a lot of the time. And I'm just yelling out directions and I don't even know what they are. Now I'm speaking a little bit of French when I teach. And sometimes I feel like I'll like catch myself saying a cue that I'm like, I don't think that translated how I wanted it to, you know?
Yeah.
Like I was trying, oh my God.
So it's more like languages barriers
more
than.
Even in English as well. Like you just fumble over your words sometimes. I'll be saying stuff in English and I'm like, squeeze your toenails. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like sometimes the class is going and I'm like, I don't know. Oh my gosh. Like I don't know what I'm saying. Cause class, like a friend once said to me, she was like, you're like low-key rapping when you're teaching. Cause I talk to like
you're
the beat
rapping?
of,
No,
I
have to come to your
again,
classes.
I'm a singer. I talk to the beat of the music and I do kind of like sing songs sometimes. And so like there's this kind of like I like have this like jazziness to myself when like the music turns on and it's instructor Emma time. And she was like, yeah, you're like rapping. And so I just keep like a constant flow of stuff, which sometimes means that the words like don't always maybe make sense after like the third class in a row. The words sometimes maybe start to get a little bit fuzzy. But in terms of like actually messed up, so back home in Canada, I teach at an infrared heated Pilates studio.
Oof, those are so hard.
Oh, but so fun. But yes. And it is, what I love about this studio is it's actually all in the dark. We're just lit by candles, no mirrors, really loud music. And it's just meant to be this like, the tagline is get out of your mind, get into your body. Like let go of the noise of the outside world, very strict no tech policy. Yeah. Literally like before class, we run around with and it's also fun, like different instructor personas. At that studio, I'm way less musical theater bar Emma, and I'm way more like
serious, like
hello and welcome.
Oh,
you know,
sexy.
Yes, I put on my phone operator voice a little bit.
I love that for you.
But we do a check before class, and like I've definitely like seen girls take their phones into class and I'll be saying like, this is a strictly tech-free zone. And I'll see them like put their little like towel on the top of their phone and I'll walk up and be like, hey, is that a phone?
No.
Can you take that outside? So very strict no tech policy, also very hot. And we as instructors have to moderate the heat. And we're like the music, the lighting, like it's like there's a lot of like technical things to teaching at that one studio. And so when I was first starting there, I didn't really know the best ways about how to manage the heat. And
did you put the room at like 60 degrees?
It was definitely like above 40 degrees Celsius. We're supposed to keep it at like 37. So it was, and when you're like in that range of heat, it's noticeable. And my not yet boyfriend at the time was in the front row. And I was not super good at paying attention. Also, I'm just kind of always cold, so I do not have a great sense of like my internal body temperature. And so I'm just there teaching my class, doing my thing, putting on my show, and he just like mouths to me. It's so fucking hot.
Did people faint?
Luckily, no.
Thank God.
And I like ran to the back and like just turned off all the heaters. And at the time he came out and he said, Emma in Paris is trying to kill me. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
So sorry. A body temperature problem. So not like, my fault.
There's like those kind of technical mistakes. And then there's, simple stuff like whatever, maybe forgetting to move on one side or like that kind of thing.
Yeah, typical stuff.
But like you just roll it off. Like I've never done anything major. I've never hurt somebody. Thank goodness. Get your instructor's insurance, everybody. Look out for yourself. Look out for your people you're looking after as well. But mistakes happen all the time. It's literally just part of it. Like I used to get so like, especially with things like I'm an engineer. I love to really, really, really well prepare my classes. I'll make the occasional Excel spreadsheet to help me structure out different body part sections of my classes.
Oh.
I like to get really detailed about it. And so when I first started teaching, I would get really like pedantic about making sure that I was always doing like my class perfectly the way that I had planned it out, which is not even that great of a practice because sometimes you're in the space and you need to make adjustments because you're noticing that like everybody's finding a move really hard or really easy, or somebody comes in and they have an injury. And so you need to be like adaptive. And so if you're too married to like the Excel spreadsheet that you made before class, you're not going to be a like, you know, the most kind of adaptive and conscientious coach that you can be for the people's needs in your space. And so learning to let go of the perfectionism, learning to be okay when I stumble on my words or, you know, say something that doesn't make sense or do one less pulse on one side. Like, it's not that serious. It's a group workout class where we like, you know, do cute little moves, you know? It's just meant to be fun.
Amazing. Well, guys, just keep rapping in Kalon Barre class. Please don't marry your Excel sheets and come ready to, I don't know, scrap your, what was it? Pulse your toes.
Pulse your toes.
With coming back because you're, so in your health career, what today with everything that you're doing, what are the little rituals that really help you to stay grounded?
Yeah, I'm a busy girl for sure. And routine, it's funny, like I love routine. I love like consistency, like going to bed at a consistent time, getting up at a consistent time, trying to be good about my like water intake and supplementation, like all of those things. I've always had a natural like affinity verging on obsession for.
What are you taking?
Ooh, okay.
Give us the tea.
Okay, at the moment, so I'm somebody who always needs to be careful about my iron intake.
Okay.
So always on my iron. I also have been on magnesium as well. That one is really good for like my muscle recovery. I actually, in terms of my supplementation, I have a naturopath that I work with. And so she's been really helpful with my kind of like hormonal balancey that I've been working on for the past 4 years. Women's hormonal health is a journey. And so a lot of the supplements that I take that are more kind of like herbal remedies, like rhodiola, which is good for like stress and stuff, like that is more aligned with Dr. Kate. Shout out all of her great recommendations. But those are my like consistent ones at the moment: magnesium, iron, rhodiola, and then in the winter I'll do vitamin D as well. And also I love electrolyte supplementation.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. And I love like the like convenience of like a little powder that you can add into your water, or like tablets and stuff like that. I've like there's a few brands that I've liked here in France, like one called Hydrate that is yummy. My favorite is it's actually, I don't even think it's legal here because the sodium content is so high.
Did you import those from Canada?
I haven't yet, but I've been needing people to smuggle them over. It's called LMNT, and it's like salt water. Like, it's so salty.
Oh, I want those.
It's really effective.
Those.
But I would say, like, for me, I was taking those when I was teaching like multiple heated mat classes a day. So like I was just always dehydrated because I was sweating like crazy. If you're not sweating that much, doing one whole of those packets in your like water bottle is like,
is
so
enough.
much sodium.
So in your
so
ritual,
much sodium.
so it's the great. So your ritual, so you like to stay grounded. So you have supplements.
So I have supplements. I love coffee so much. I know that it's like, there's many reasons why maybe coffee, like I'm a high energy person who like is a little bit like jumpy to begin with. So there's reasons for me that I know why, like, oh, maybe I should be a matcha girl. I'm not a matcha girl. I'm a coffee girl.
Girl, I tried to be a matcha girl. I still am on the afternoons.
Yeah. That's very impressive. I'm a coffee girl always.
Sometimes, but I love my coffee in the morning.
I do too. And so, but I'm strict with myself in that, like, I do like to have coffee like in the morning, but I make sure that I always have like a full water, like either glass of water or water bottle before I have my coffee in the morning, because otherwise, like, I'm just like, I need to set myself up on that like consistent footing of like I take my water bottle with me everywhere and I try to refill it as much as I can. And just like, you know, if I'm drinking something that's like a diuretic, like coffee or tea, I need to be also having like water on the side of that as well. And I think also being a fitness instructor, somebody who is very active and moving a lot, and even a city like Paris, like we're just walking constantly.
Yeah.
You're always fighting dehydration. We could always all use like more water. And so
True.
I'm trying to be better and better. Also related to coffee is never, like I said, I do like to have coffee like first thing in the morning, not first thing, water first, but never coffee on an empty stomach. But like, and also that kind of goes with like my like pre-workout routine. I am your go-to if you are taking a 7:30 a.m. class in Paris. It is probably taught by me. I'm your go-to.
You people wake up
morning
at
girl.
5:30 to go teach a class at your
Girl,
7:30.
I used to be teaching at 6 a.m. in Toronto, and so 7:30 is a sleep-in. We're fine with it.
You're so brave. I couldn't.
Oh yeah, so brave. I have the hardest job in the world. I do not. But I always prioritize having something in my system that's not just coffee and water before I work out, especially because like I'm exerting like a lot of energy in that like I'm talking and I need to bring the energy for the whole class. And so whether it's, you know, some dates, a banana, like it doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be something so that like I'm not thinking about food. I'm not feeling my stomach grumbling while I'm teaching, you know, something that's going to like digest quick. That's why I like fruit, dates, something that's like sugar, easy to digest, even like a granola bar, just so that I'm not there like, oh, what's for breakfast? And 8 more reps, you know? And also I just like am somebody who like I need to be like on top of my fueling game constantly and like replenishing like electrolytes and sugar and all of those great things, carbohydrates to fuel me through my day. And so like another part of my ritual is like consistent snacks, you know?
Oh, what are the best snacks that you have?
Okay, well, I actually love medjool dates with peanut butter and dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate also?
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I got so excited. So drizzled on top.
Ooh,
when
nice.
I was in university, because I've always been like, I love like making my little homemade stacks and stuff like that. It's budget friendly and it's fun. And so I have a memory of going on a road trip with my friends in university, and everybody's like, let's get car snacks, which like when you're with a bunch of university boys, they want like chips, candy, that kind of stuff. And I came with a little Tupperware container of medjool dates stuffed with almond butter, drizzled with chocolate, with little like crushed almonds and sea salt on top.
No.
Phenomenal. But you look at these and like they look like little pieces of shit. Like
yes,
they don't
true.
look very
They don't
good.
look attractive.
But and so whatever. I bring these out to my friends and I'm like, I made snacks. And so everybody's like,
what is this?
Okay, Emma. Well, like, we'll try it. There, little girl. Nice try. And they were obsessed.
Of course.
And then they started asking me to make them. And we're like, what's the recipe? And I'm like, dude, you literally cut a date in half and stuff some peanut butter in it. It's not that deep. But the dark chocolate makes it feel like extra fancy.
Oof,
so.
I never tried with dark chocolate. That's going to be... Are you putting also sea salt on those?
Flaky Malden sea salt is the best.
Wow, I have to try. So
chef's kiss.
We talked about also screens. It's very hard today to put us and to have a tech-free zone.
There's so many reasons why I love teaching, and one of them is that this is a minor reason, but kind of a big reason. When I'm teaching, I do not want my phone going off in the middle of class, right?
Yeah.
I'm plugged in on the music. So whenever I'm teaching, my phone is on Do Not Disturb, and it is like plugged in, and it is just my music and put away. And it is amazing to have a break from tech because
it is.
I struggle with it.
It is, and we all struggle with it. So what advice would you give to people who are working on their computer all day long and still want to have a movement? Do you have some advice, some tips that they can do even if they're in front of a screen, for example?
Yeah, I mean, like, because like me too, I'm a student, and also like when I'm working, I'm like jobs I've had, I'm like coding or like in spreadsheets, and I'm on my computer all day.
Yes.
And then you go on your like lunch break or whatever, and then you're on your phone and you're on TikTok and you're on Instagram or whatever. And like as a modern woman in also the kind of like space I'm in where like I use social media as a means to kind of like post about my like life in my classes and promote myself as a fitness instructor, like, yeah, like social media is a black hole and I'm on my phone a lot. And so kind of like it's something that like when I find myself just kind of like doom scrolling on my phone, it's this kind of like, I'll like give myself this check-in moment of like, what are you actually absorbing right now? Because it's nothing of substance.
Yes, we have to contend
and
that
so
for
like
much,
coming back to kind of like with like, why am I working out? It's like, why am I on my phone right now? Like if I like, sometimes, you know, do you ever catch yourself? You're like, oh, I went on my phone for like a reason. And then all of a sudden you're like,
you lost what you wanted to
literally
to
you're
find
like
in your phone.
looking at photos from 10 years ago and you're like, wait, I was checking the time. Like, when did I get here? You know? And so like having that kind of like clear purpose for like, what am I doing on my phone right now? And so if like, I'm trying like more and more to think of like with like social media, like, and like going on my phone with like, I am going on it for like a clear purpose. There's something that I want to post. There is like some messages that I need to respond to. And then that's it. Like your explore feed is a dark hole of like doom scrolling and comparison and content that is just like overwhelming to the eye. And my boyfriend actually has a really, really good technique with his like phone, especially related to bedtime. And I've started adopting it in like a little bit of a different way in that like he has one device that is his like iPad baby device where it's literally just meditation apps, Spotify, and like that's it. That is the only device allowed in the bedroom is something that plays sleep music.
So he leaves his phone on another
phone
room.
is in a different phone is downstairs. And so when we are long distance relationship, when we're sleeping together, I'm so good about like my phone is chucked away. Like I'm not on it at all. And so when we're not sleeping together, I now have started trying to adopt those same kind of sleep hygiene habits for myself, which is kind of like phone is on do not disturb and I'm putting on my like ambient music. I'm not somebody who even needs ambient music that much. I can sleep with like the window open, sound on, somebody's like playing music downstairs. I don't need that much sensory deprivation to sleep, but the ritual of like phone on, do not disturb, sleep music on, close the blinds, put everything away, it just helps me like feel more like
to wind down.
Yeah, like the ritual of sleep, like you deserve that, you know, like setting that time away from yourself. And it also makes it a lot easier to not be on your phone when you're using it to like play your sleep music, even if, like I said, I don't even need the ambient noise, but it means that then I'm not going on like Instagram or TikTok or whatever late at night.
Yes,
you know,
that's a big thing. And for me, I'm doing a lot of work behind my computer also, and so sometimes I'm surprising myself and I'm standing up, and I'm working standing up.
I get you.
I look ridiculous.
Find myself just like sitting in the weirdest ways, just trying to like adjust myself too, because I'm a really like active person and I get like antsy. And also not all of us have the luxury of like, oh, I work from home so I can have a standing desk or a walk pad, or I can take this call like walking. Like the society we live in means that like, you know, I'm in lecture today for like, you know, 7 hours and I'm just like sitting there in a hard chair on my computer.
So are there small moves we can do even to make that do? I mean, sometimes like, even with your toes or your hands, jazz hands.
Jazz hands, right? That's a good one. Maybe I should do that. Everybody would think I was crazy. I take every chance I get to like get up, get out of my seat, go for a walk, go to the bathroom, fill my water bottle, get some fresh air, like any chance I get, like even if it is a literal like 5-minute break between calls, during lecture, whatever it might be, like get up, I go to the bathroom, I fill my water bottle, I like shake it out, do some stretches, I crack my back and everybody looks at me weird. Like I like you savor those like little moments you have because like movement is medicine. As cliche as it sounds, like just having like a little shakeout, a little like bite size,
it's changing
whatever.
Everything.
Yeah. And like I think back, like if you're somebody who like works in a remote job, which I don't right now, but when I was doing like online school, I would be in engineering lectures for the entire day on a Zoom screen like that. And then that was my entire day, was just like lecture, lecture, lecture. And so literally just like closing the computer screen, turning on like a song, and just like having a dance party for like a minute and then getting back into it.
I love this. Meredith, great trend.
Yeah. And like, yeah, no, I love that reference. Yeah. Or in more dire straits, you know, there was a time when I remember during COVID, again, this was somebody who was like going crazy and just needed to move. I had 5 minutes in between 2 lectures. I closed my computer. I like ran out my front door. I was living at home at the time, and I just like ran up and down the block. I went back to school. So I was just like, I need to do something else. I need some sunlight. I just need to like move my body. And like, you know, the luxury of like, oh, my like lunchtime workout class. Like a lot of us don't have that time, you know?
Sometimes I feel like that, not just when I work remote. I feel like that when I'm going to the office, because all day.
Yeah.
There is a small break. Okay, sometimes you go out to take away some food.
Sure,
but
you know,
that's it. Then you come back inside between those 4 walls. You're eating and you're not moving. You're still sitting.
So I would also say, like, I am somebody who, like, I'm actually like I like to call myself an extroverted introvert. In that I'm actually an introvert. I need a lot of like alone time to recharge.
And to recharge, or you're extroverted.
Yeah. Well, because I'm a very outgoing introvert.
Yeah.
I talk a lot. I'm very expressive. I like people. I like time with people. I need to remind myself that. I need to remind myself that it is a really important, beautiful thing to be engaged in community and in society, and like to meet people and talk with people and like, you know, try new things and experience beautiful Paris and stuff like that. And so like really like celebrating and taking advantage of those moments before and after work or school or whatever it is. When I was like working a full-time job, my best friend and we would make a routine of always going to bar classes together before work at least 2 times a week. We would schedule our workouts. So we would go to we had all of our favorite bar teachers. We would go to a class. We would grab a quick coffee before work, and then we would go our separate days and live our long days. But it made me look forward to my workout so much, made me appreciate my workout so much because I'm there with a friend. And also I knew that after that, I was going to be sitting in an office for a very long time. And just literally made me excited to get up in the morning knowing that I could I got to see my best friend, and you know, we would get a nice coffee after and get a bite-sized little catch up. And then same with after work. It's so much easier. Now we're in the summer months for sure. But again, something I need to remind myself is saying yes to the drink with a friend after work, or booking that workout class, or going for a walk in the park, or this new show. It's so hard because you get to the end of the day and you have no energy. Because you said,
you're dead.
You've been sitting all day, but you've not been exerting any energy. You know, you've been exerting so much mental energy, but you do still have you know, depending on what your job is, of course, but you still have physical energy. It's not been expended. And so sometimes I almost need that reminder of if you get up and you start walking and you start moving, you've you've booked that class. And so if you don't go,
you have no choice.
You're going to lose those credits, you know? You're going to get
pay.
That late cancel fee. Exactly. Or whatever, non-refundable, even if it's a €5 gallery opening or something that, something that gets you up and gets you moving. I'd say probably 9 out of 10 times, you are not going to regret having planned something, even if it's not the most amazing movie, bar, show, whatever that you've ever been to. It's something that gets you up and gets you out of your kind of bubble of exhaustion, because we exert energy in different ways. Sometimes I'm physically exhausted, but I'm emotionally and mentally needing more, and vice versa, you know?
At least, so get out. Take an accountability partner sometimes, a best friend, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a mom, a dad, because
planning
whatever.
Workouts and planning that kind of stuff with with a bestie is my hobby, my full-time job. I feel I'm always the one. I'm do you want to try a new Pilates studio?
I love that.
I going to like, because it's so fun working out and being motivated with like a friendly face. And for me, I love teaching to a group of friendly faces. I feel like my clients are my best friends. I see my clients more than my friends most of the time because I have people who come like, every day, every week to my classes.
That's amazing.
And so like knowing people's names and like it just makes it so cheeky and fun to be like, I think you can lift your leg a little bit higher, Margaret, And like these are real people. But like, and also very common names. So you don't know who you are.
Of course. So last question.
Okay.
Last question, then we're not done here because I have fire question for you.
Fun.
I see for those who are not watching us and just listening, Emma has 2 tattoos on her, a butterfly and what is, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. So I've got one here, and one here.
So explain to us, what are those? Do they have a signification? I'm sure they do.
They definitely do. Yeah. I'll start by saying when I was like in my early 20s, I'm still in my early 20s. When I was 20.
Yeah, you're 20s.
I know. We talked about this earlier. I'm like, I feel like a really old 24-year-old. Yeah. I don't know why.
You know that a lot of good people, this is what my grandma used to, well, she's still alive, so she's still saying this
also
to me.
Also an old 24-year-old.
Yeah, to me that when you're young and you feel old, it means that you have an old soul that is living inside of you.
Oh, beautiful.
And so
maybe her name's Margaret.
Yeah.
Anyways, when I was 20, I was like very anti-tattoos for myself because I never thought that I would be so like committed, like decisive about something that I would want it on me forever.
Yeah, it's a big commitment.
Yeah,
the tattoo
like
it scares me.
Big commitment. Now I'm not scared at all, and I'm like, I think they're so fun. It's like little stamps on my body, like a scrapbook of my life.
Oh no, they look great. They look amazing.
And so this right here is my first one, and this is the tattoo that like made me not scared to get tattoos.
Can describe it. What is it for the people who are not watching us?
It is the symbol for the National Eating Disorder Association, actually. So it's a beautiful little symbol as well. When I first saw another girl with a similar tattoo, I just was like, I'd never seen the symbol like. It's just really, the way I have it is just this, it kind of almost looks like a heart or a little bit like 2 butterfly rings.
It's really beautiful.
Like,
yes.
Thank you. Yeah. And at first I thought I wanted to maybe do something a little more abstract. At the time that I got this, it was kind of like I didn't even really realize it at the time, but it was my way of like really fully committing to recovery by like not hiding from it anymore. By saying like, yeah, you know what? I've been in and out of like a phase of like pseudo recovery and like committing to looking after myself, but also not committing to looking after myself, living on the edge of health and living on the edge of like loving myself. And this was my way of like making a permanent statement of like Emma, fucking look after yourself.
Of course.
Every single day, remember that. And like, this is a part of me. And like, eating disorders are mental illnesses, not just physical illnesses. And so it is something that like, I want to remind myself of every day. And so National Eating Disorder Awareness Week is in February every year. And so I got this tattoo in February 2023. And it like, I actually like took my friends out for dinner the day that I got it. And there was people that I'd known for like 3 years who had no idea.
I had no idea.
No.
So we're talking about, what do you think, again, you'd say to other women or men who are seeing disorders right now? What real advice would you have to give them?
Yeah.
Besides, of course, getting help.
Yeah.
Seeing the right doctors, but
Because I think like getting professional help is like, if you have access to it, the absolute game changer. Mm-hmm. Like my mom has always been my number day one support, in that like she's the one who helped me get support when I was like 19, and like I didn't want to face that like this was something that I like was like really scary struggling with. Mm-hmm. But I think people like, you can see eating disorders. So I've struggled with anorexia, and people can see that especially as very black and white. You look like you have anorexia, you're underweight, and then you're not. So then you're okay. It's a lifelong journey. It's so not linear. And you will like, you can, and I'm not trying to be like doom and gloom with that. Like you can recover, and like you can be in, you know, a stable place mentally and physically for sure. But like I said, it's a mental illness. And I think everybody needs to know that like it's not an on and off switch. It's not just like I gain weight and now everything is better. And so like having so much like grace and compassion for yourself as you navigate something really fucking challenging, and it's gonna go through stages of like, you know, sometimes you're on a really great upward slope and like everything is like going great and I'm able to look after myself and I want to look after myself. And then something happens, an old trigger comes back, and all of a sudden, why is this thing that I thought was, you know, not a struggle for me anymore is hard again? So having like so much self-compassion, because self-love is not always easy.
Self-love is the hardest.
Self-love is really hard, but like I think you can all have a little bit of compassion for yourself. And for me, this kind of actually relates into this most recent tattoo I got. Having a lot of compassion for little Emma and my younger self is what grounds me, when maybe having compassion for adult Emma is a little bit harder, because in all of us, there's a little kid
Absolutely
who deserves to be looked after. And so if you're struggling to look after yourself, like have patience for that. It's hard sometimes. It's really hard to like want good things for yourself and to like look after yourself. It's exhausting in this world we live in to know how to do all of those things in this wellness sphere that we live in, knowing the right way to do what everybody is telling you how to live. But there's also just a little kid sometimes who needs a hug and a snack. And so remembering that is really grounding. And I would also saying like being really real with yourself, like real talk of like, I kind of mentioned before, like this word pseudo recovery. And for those of you like kind of not familiar, when I say like, you know, recovery versus like being actively engaged in an eating disorder, this idea of pseudo recovery is like, I'm not actually, like maybe I'm physically recovered,
but mentally you're not there.
Mentally, I've still got a lot of hangups. And I think pseudo recovery is like so like the most common stage of an eating disorder, in that like nobody's maybe as concerned about you anymore. You are looking after yourself enough. You're on the edge of like, you know, nobody would maybe say like, oh, like she's like unhealthy. You know, they can't see my blood work. So it just like you seem to be doing so much better. But you know you best. Only you know when like you're not plagued by the like vicious voices in your head every day. And maybe they're a little more dull. Maybe they don't follow you around so much anymore. But like only you have the power and the knowledge to know when like, no, I'm actually just living my life, not my eating disorder's life. And so again, this is something that like I want to remember to check in with myself constantly with like, hey, is that little asshole, like where is that today? You know? And like, let's be really honest with myself and not let somebody else saying like, you're looking so good, or, you know, even like as a fitness instructor, commenting on my body in what people think is a really positive way. Like, that's great. Like, you know, like you do you.
Yeah.
Only I know what health feels like in me.
I think it's disgusting to commenting on other people's body, whether it's not your job. I saw so much trends right now on the TikTok and Instagram are allowing themselves, because they're just hiding behind stupid accounts, right? Yeah. And they're allowing themselves more and more to comment on people's body, not only people who are doing coaching
not
and
just
sports,
celebrities, literally just like
everyone.
Yeah,
people
it is
who are
vicious.
and it can be so triggering also for people.
Absolutely, and I've come in an extremely long way, and so like again, I also understand it, because people can say positive things that can be really triggering, not just negative. And so like when somebody like, you know, says something about me or themselves or another person, like I'm not mad at you. Like I get it. Like we all compare ourselves, and you might think that you're giving somebody a compliment, but you don't know what that person's day or life looked like. And something that you think might be really nice or even just like a nothing comment could like send somebody into like a spiral. And so like I think just like learning to put less value on what everybody looks like would be so lovely.
Yes, you know? It would. And if also everyone could take some grace in, you know, what they're saying out loud, because today I feel like everything that you can say on social media, social media, sorry.
Yeah.
On social media, now you can say it out loud, and it wasn't like that before. So yes.
Yeah.
Everyone should really protect this inner child also. So this second
This
tattoo.
is, so this was actually, I only got this really, really recently. Just for context, this baby is Baby. I named her Baby. And then my sister named the bunny rabbit Flopsio Godio. So somebody was definitely a lot more creative.
Cute. No,
right? Yeah,
I'm
no,
just
I
saying
was
this
gonna,
right
at first I was
now.
just gonna do the baby just for me, you know, because I was like, it's my tattoo.
It's me.
But honestly, like, so not only was it really, really special to do something kind of like for my sister as well, and for like little AJ, that's my sister's name, but also I was like, they're holding hands, and
That's
the bunny
so
rabbit is really
cute.
cute. And so I like having a little bunny on me. So
Love
those
this.
Baby and Flopsy. I've got my NADA symbol. And then this one I
The
actually
butterfly.
got just after I decided to move to Paris, and I got accepted into school here. So this I also got exactly 1 year after my first tattoo. So this was not this most recent February, but the one before that. I love butterflies. I think what girl doesn't like a butterfly? They're
Yes.
gorgeous, and they're also a little bit creepy and a little bit like that. When you look close at a butterfly, it's got a kind of like a menacing little face. You could call them that. But for me, the butterflies at the time were very symbolic of like evolution and metamorphosis.
Yes,
kind of
I
like
was
my
about to
word.
say this. Is
Yes,
it because
like-
you fly with your own wings to
And
Paris?
so for me, I
Yes.
was like moving to a country that I'd never lived in, a language that I barely spoke, completely by myself, and I'd like made a really big decision. I was moving into the next chapter, post-university stage of my life. I was also, so butterflies are also actually something that is a common symbol of like eating disorder awareness. And so it felt very like nicely aligned with like this tattoo that I'd gotten exactly 1 year earlier. And I had also, from the 1 year between these tattoos, my like mental and physical health had flourished so incredibly. I put in a lot of fucking work from
That's
February
great.
2020. Oh, I actually got this in February 2022. Sorry. February 2022 to February 2023. I put in a lot of work. And I was like, because I've been in multiple stages of recovery throughout my teenage and young adult life. And that was like the first period where I was like, I'm doing this for me, not because my mom is stressed, not because my boyfriend thinks it would be cool if I ate pizza with him. I'm doing this so 100% for me. And that's when recovery really flourished for me, was 2022 to 2023.
Doing the work for yourself first.
And so I got this tattoo literally like a little bit on a whim, completely for myself, completely by myself. I just like the tattoo artist who actually did this tattoo for me, I just phoned them up and I was like, hey, I would like a butterfly on my shoulder, please. And I liked it because it's like a lot more visible than this is. This is pretty, you didn't even notice this one.
I didn't
this
notice
is like,
this one.
Yes, it's visible, but this was something that I was like, I'm not scared of like having something permanently on me. I get people commenting and complimenting me on it all the time.
Oh, it looks very nice on you.
Thank you. And it's like, and yeah, it's for me like beautiful and strong and majestic, like the woman that I want to be, you know, somebody who's like not trying to be like small or quiet or like polite or like, you know, any sort of way that's in a box.
The woman
you know?
that we all want to be.
Yeah,
Me include. And that will
powerful.
be, of course. So switching up
Okay.
to some fire questions.
Okay, I'll be quick.
Do you say you are a morning or evening mover?
Morning. 1000%.
Your favorite word linked to wellness?
Oh,
You can say your two favorites if there are more.
spiritual.
Love
Yeah.
that. Your current favorite self-care product?
Elementy electrolytes.
I
I miss them
love
so
this
much. I love them
one.
so much always.
Would you be a champagne girl?
Champagne? Yes, but water first. But then yeah.
I love this. So one thing you think people are getting wrong about self-care?
That it needs to look aesthetic. That sometimes literally like I struggle with wellness products because I'll be so honest, I don't actually have that many like bougie wellness products. For me, wellness and self-care is like a shower. You know, like
Yeah.
literally like simple, basic self-care and hygiene, literally like having a sit down slow meal. Like that's my like self-care and hygiene. And like it does not always like look aesthetic You know, like I'm like, oh, I get to shave my legs today. Woohoo! That is self-care. It's not that aesthetic. I probably cut myself shaving. I'm not very graceful at it. You know, I'm usually in a rush.
No. So you wake up hungover, but you are.
Okay, you talked about have I ever taught a bad class or have I messed up a class? This has happened before. This was a time ago. I would never do that now. Now I am not a huge drinker anymore, honestly. Not like super like, I don't have a problem with alcohol. I work out a lot and I teach a lot in the mornings. And so from experience, there was a time when I was on a first date with somebody and I was a little bit nervous. And so I drank way too much. Yeah, I was teaching at 9 a.m. the next day.
And no glass of wine.
And I woke up and I was like, oh no. And I taught quite a few bar classes at that point. And so I was like, okay, Emma, you've got this. So I would not recommend this, okay? This is not wellness advice, but I slammed an energy drink and I just like crushed it over to the studio and I just like bopped in and I did it. I drank so much water, but also, yes, a Celsius was definitely slammed in there. And then I like literally passed out. And I remember one of my regulars, she was like, did you have like more energy than usual? Because I just so overcompensated. I remember I had this like little like jumping burpee thing planned and I was like throw up. Like I did not feel well, but it was my job. It is, you know, at the end of the day, it is my job. And so I needed to show up for it. And so I did what I needed to do. I hate canceling classes. And also canceling class because you're hungover. I'm sorry. That's not cool. If it's like, no, I've got the stomach flu. Okay, I get it, girl. That sucks. But like being hungover is very unavoidable. That was on me. I should have known better. And so like I put on my bootstraps. I dust myself off. I do the thing. It's 1 hour of my day that I can like will myself into showing up for. And then I can go and do what I need to do.
Yes. Now the rule for me always, for me and my girlfriends, I think it's always like you drink, but you show up in the morning.
Yeah.
You drink, but you show up.
You drink, and then you have some water and some baguette and you like balance it out.
Croissant. I love you do parle français.
But I speak fitness French. So like passé, relevé, you know, rond de jambe, droite, gauche, etc.
I love this. I also have an accent because I'm from Belgium, so but it's a small one. Not everyone notices it, but it's not as cute as yours.
Cute is kind. Bad is probably better, but cute is very kind of you.
What's one simple move or mindset that people can steal from your everyday life?
Oh, I've heard it. Like I don't know. Okay, how do I put this simply? Like dress up for the job you want, like dress up with confidence. And that's more than just like what you're wearing. Like that fake it till you make it attitude has gotten me so far in my life. Like literally like presenting yourself with like good posture, direct eye contact, and just like confident attitude, even if you're like shitting yourself, not feeling good, feeling nervous, like feeling really self-critical, like kind of like will self-confidence and that powerful attitude into existence. I'm very stubborn and I'm like, if I am like, I will will that attitude into myself. And so like all those kind of idealities like are ideas, like cliches that we all know of like dress for the job you want, fake it till you make it, all of that. Like, yeah, wear what you want and feel like good about it and like dress and act and speak and live, you know, think in a way that you want to think, you know, like prepare yourself mentally for that like life that you want to be living. And that doesn't need to be the most glamorous, crazy, whatever life. That can just be like, hey, I want to be a person who is not nervous speaking in front of people. And so I'm just going to like, you know, think and will that into existence by putting myself in those settings and pretending that I'm not shitting myself right now.
This is what everyone has done for their oral exams when we were 17 or 18. Yeah. And the last question, what maybe more than one word in this case? What's maybe 3 or 5 words would you say of encouragement to people who are struggling with TC?
Ooh, everybody like, it's hard because everybody's like kind of struggles are so different. But for me, like you are so loved and like But the most important person that like should love you and is capable of loving you so, so well is yourself. And like I've said, like we talked about, like self-love is extremely, like it is a hard thing to do. It can feel like selfish or embarrassing sometimes, but loving yourself like you would a little kid and like holding yourself, like literally like hugging yourself sometimes and treating yourself like that like beautiful little girl boy like that you like deserve to be treated as, like that, like it's that kind of same sign of mindset of like you will that love into existence, you know? And so like an affirmation that I myself come back to all the time is this idea of like you are loved. And what shifted for me was this idea of like you are loved by yourself, and like realizing that like I when I reached that point in my recovery where I did actually realize that like, oh, I actually do like myself. I don't like my eating disorder. I hate that bitch, but I love myself. And when I like, if I look at like little Emma and I see through her eyes watching what adult Emma is doing, I know that that little girl is like, she's fucking cool and she's killing it. And look at all the places she can go. And I love that little girl and she loves me. And like the eating disorder that's trying to like kind of kill that thunder and drag me down and like suffocate me, that is not serving either of us. And like that is not aligning with where I want my life to be and with where I want her life to be, because she is me and she's like the most important person in my life to look after.
Absolutely. And she's killing it, and she killed it today. She absolutely did. Much. And you on social media, where can we find you on Instagram? You can
find me at Emma May Beau. So that's Emma, then May, like the month, and then Beau, because my last name is French, actually, Beaumont. But
it does French.
I know everybody thinks I'm French. But yeah, Beau like beautiful. That's my Emma May Beau. You can find me there. You can come take my classes at Kalon, or if you're ever in Toronto, I'm sometimes teaching there too. So you can also just follow me on Instagram. I always post where I pop up because I'm a dynamic girl and I always like to try new things.
Well, thank you so much, Emma.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
My first podcast.
Yay!